Good evening and welcome to the November 3rd City Council meeting. If you join me for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Michelle Volk.
Here.
Luke Kellier.
Here.
John Vermel.
Here.
Dan Walter.
Here.
Joshua Lee.
Here.
All right, great. We'll move on to item 3, citizens' comments. Is opportunity for those in the audience to address the council for up to 3 minutes on an issue not related to something on the agenda. Seeing none, move on. Any additional agenda information, Mr. Miller?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay, and we'll now turn it over to our police chief, Brad Paulson, for our quarterly report. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Here tonight to present our quarter 3 report covering the months of July through September of this year. As we always do, we'll start with a mission statement. The Lakeville Police Department exists to ensure an excellent quality of life in Lakeville by serving and protecting in a professional and innovative way. It has been a year of movement for Lakeville PD, so highlighting some of our quarter 3 long-term retirements here on this slide. On the left there is Jenny Davis, who after 25 years as a records technician, retired in August. Thinking back to 25 years ago in a police records job, her job changed significantly over those years, and she did a great job of adapting as time went on. But happy for her in a well-earned retirement. In the middle there, Officer Chad Loeffler. He had a total of 28 plus years in law enforcement. I think he was 21, a little over 21 with Lakeville PD, but Chad did a lot of work with canines over the years. He handled 3 dogs with Lakeville, Storm, as you see there, along with Tank and Shadow before that, and he's given a lot to that program over the years. And on the right, Community Service Officer, our lead Community Service Officer, Randy Smith, spent 8 years with us and did a great job in that role. He did a lot of onboarding with our seasonal CSOs, younger employees who are at college age, and getting them outfitted and trained and up to speed. So now backfilling some of those spots, starting in August, Kristen Bai, who is a new records technician. She comes to us from the Minnesota Department of Health, where she's spent 13 years there, doing newborn screening, public health, data analysis. She did a lot of work on substance abuse, including opioid overdoses, so a lot of cross section with public safety in that role, and she's been a great addition to our team and our staff. New community service officer, Bill Nelson, who has spent a little over 3 years as a reserve officer for us, kind of a second or third or even fourth career. Bill's done a little bit of everything over the years, but his main career was an air traffic controller, retired from that, also a member of the U.S. Air Force. But he's jumped right in where Randy left off, and he's his time as a reserve has certainly helped him get up to speed quickly in that role. A few new officers starting out in July. Bennett Weestrand was also a CSO for us for a few years, graduated from Winona. So he's been around, but officially started in his sworn role in middle of July, just after Panaprog. Joining him is Joe Barron. Joe grew up in the St. Peter area, went to school up at Bemidji State. This is his first sworn police officer job, so he's doing well. All of these officers you see here are winding down their field training phase. So they started in July and kind of starting to wrap some of that up, so close to being out on their own. Megan Karp also started in July. You see there, she was one of our grant-funded recipients of the IC Poet Grant, so graduated from Hennepin Technical College in July and started with us as a sworn officer. She got her undergraduate degree from St. Cloud State, but came to us really from the hospitality industry. And then Josh Enevold, also on the IC Poet Grant, graduated from Minnesota State Mankato, and prior to Lakeville PD was at the Carver County Sheriff's Officer in a detention deputy role. quick update on the First Center. If you haven't seen pictures or driven by, some good progress out there. Most of the exterior walls are up. The big push now is to get things tightened up and enclosed before the snow flies. They're coming along good on that. There's a note there, the first layer of asphalt will be laid before winter. That is now down. I drove by earlier today, so it's a good sign. So we're on track with getting that sealed up to do the interior work over the cold weather months. As far as partnerships, we're in the final stages of finishing up some capital member agreements with 4 area law enforcement agencies, just putting kind of the finishing touches on those agreements. And also continuing to have a conversation with a local college on partnering on a potential skills program there. They were waiting to see some of the changes with the Minnesota Post Board and the education requirements that they were looking at, and now that's been flushed out a little bit, those conversations have re-engaged, so that's exciting for us. Highlighting some of our support from the Lakeville Public Safety Foundation. On the left there was a significant grant for a UTV, which we received just before Panaprog this year. It was a good tool to have out there to get around downtown. I think that picture's from just before the parade, but with crowds, that's a nice asset for us to have. Also good conversation piece for people coming up to look to engage with our staff. Given our parks with Ritter and now Grand Prairie, some of these large area parks that it's not probably conducive to drive a squad all over, this will be a good tool for us to get around in those areas as well. On the upper right there is our what's become an annual police fire softball game that our Public Safety Foundation helps to support. Our first round at it in late September, we made it, I think, 1 batter in before the skies opened up, and we got rained out quickly, and we tried to cancel, but the fire department wouldn't let us. So we we came back in October, and we came up short once again. But always a good time to get together with their staff, and a relaxing evening for everybody. And then on the bottom right, that picture's from the Police and Fire Ball in September, the biggest foundation event every year where we highlight and honor the both Police and Firefighter of the Year. And it's a room full at brackets of supporters and donors, and a good evening for all of us. Community engagement, just a few highlights there. We get a lot of requests for events and for our staff to come out and speak or interact with people. Some of it is just by happenstance as well, with people driving around and looking for opportunities. But these are a few of those moments. On the left there is Officer Andy Shermer doing a drone demonstration at the Fountains, one of our senior care facilities. They're always amazed at some of the new technology trends that are out there, so we're always happy to get out there and show them some of our tools. That's CSO Annika Lang talking with a gentleman and his I believe, a parrot of some sort. That bird does talk. I've seen it before. That's down at Antlers Park. On the upper right is a community education visit. I believe that's Officer Brian Smith up there. And then on the bottom right, safety camp, which is in August. Always a good turnout for that, and the helicopter landing is always one of the big highlights for all the kids to see. That's North Air that helps us out with that. And of course, it seems like a long time ago, but this wasn't quarter 3 in July, Panaprog. It's a heavy lift citywide, including for our department. We wouldn't want to do it every weekend, but it's a great way for us to interact with the community. By and large, most of the folks that are out there are looking just to have a good time and enjoy the community, enjoy each other. There's always a handful of people that we deal with, and try to do that as discreetly and efficiently as we can to not impact everybody else's good time. But always proud of our staff for the amount of days and long days and hours that they put in to safely get through all of those events. And then National Night Out, which is in early August. About 100 parties again this year. We get to as many of those as we can, along with the fire department. But again, a great way for kids to jump in squad cars and check out equipment and interact with officers. We had another good weather year, which always helps us out, and some of us ate way too much once again. So, highlighting some of our training and development, not intending for people to read through every bullet point on the slide here, but there's a lot of acronyms and abbreviations, but just to kind of capture the amount of training and development that gets done. That's one of our internal priorities, is professional development. There's certainly a lot of training tied to our licensure, which we're mandated to do. But there's a lot of extras that people look to try to enhance their skills, both technical skills, leadership skills, mentoring. You see a real variety there from the upper left, the Glock armors, the folks, our staff that inspect and maintain our firearms, some of the more, job-related tasks with emergency driving out at the Dakota County track. And then on the right, you see leading without rank, mentorship and leadership, Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command. Those are more leadership-based programs that we do our best to get our staff through. Moving into some of the numbers here, the statistics, and a lot of the slides leading up till now with our community activities. They're fun events for the most part for our officers and positive. The statistics, I think what kind of gets lost and buried in some of these is some of the heavier work that our staff does that isn't as well represented in public slideshows and presentations, but I don't want it lost. I know the council recognizes this, but for the public, there's some heavy calls that our staff deals with, and a statistic doesn't often tell the whole story, but these are just a way for us to show some of the work that gets done on the more enforcement side of things. So third quarter police reports actually pulled. We were down about 30 from third quarter of 2024. And then our 911 CRU call transfers, these are calls that come into dispatch, 911 calls that the dispatcher realizes are probably better served by our crisis response unit. So we saw 25 of those calls specific to Lakeville in quarter three. And we continue to be right around that 75 to 85% that police department never gets involved with, which is how that program or that function is intended. So good to see those numbers kind of tracking consistently. Calls for service, you can see in the parentheses just above the title there, we're at about 12,400 in quarter three, down from 14,200 last year. Again, that's driven largely by our medical response. Fire department moving to full-time, there's a lot less medical calls that we respond to, so that's been a good improvement. Welfare check and crisis mental health calls both down a little bit in quarter three, which is great to see. We put a lot of aftercare resources out there to try to minimize the callback on some of our folks that are struggling with certain things in the community. And then more traffic related, our traffic stop numbers were down in 2025 in quarter three, driven largely by a little bit shorter staff in patrol with some of our changeover and people out on medical leave and other types of leave. And then crashes are relatively consistent year over year with property damage and also personal injury. And just a comparison to some of our neighboring agency total calls there, were just right in between Apple Valley and Burnsville in quarter three. And on criminal offense reporting on the far left, they're driving under the influence. Those numbers are up a little bit. We have 3 trained drug recognition experts. You'll hear them called DREs, but they are great at looking for drugs outside of alcohol. So cannabis, prescription opioids, things like that, and we're seeing more and more drivers impaired by substances other than alcohol. But it's a different type of training and skill set to recognize those. So as our staff continues to get more used to that and trained on that, we're hoping to see those numbers continue to go up as they're more proactive in taking our impaired drivers off the streets. Aggravated assaults are up just a little bit. Simple assaults or misdemeanor assaults down. The one other one to highlight there, which is a pretty significant drop, damage, vandalism. Those are more what we would call kind of a spree type of crime, where sometimes you might get a pack of these all in one event or one evening, which can generate a number of case files based on one evening of activity. And finally, just some snapshots from our social media work out there. The animals always get a lot of attention. On the left there, I think that's Officer Engel. It's a little small for me to see from here, with a injured bald eagle. All kinds of things that we get called to assist with. They're large and dangerous, but we were able to get that bird up to the U of M Raptor Center, which is always a great partner and very willing to work with staff and in getting injured raptors up there. In the middle was a awfully friendly raccoon, which went to a wildlife rehab center up in Roseville. On the right there is a picture from prior to swearing in when we introduced our officers here a few months ago, and a birthday shout out to Canine Nora on the right. That wraps up our third quarter report. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Questions, comments? John?
Just a question with the impaired driving stats. Have you noticed a difference in proportions between alcohol and, let's say, marijuana or other drugs? Those used to be rare, relatively rare, but have you seen a change in that?
We have seen an increase. I don't have the numbers in front of me with statisticals. It is still largely alcohol. I mean, that is still the main driver. And I do think a piece of that is it's more recognizable, and officers are more trained in enforcing that. When you think of a roadside portable test, we have tools that can detect alcohol. We do not have something that someone can blow into that detects THC or other substances, intoxicating substances. So that's a piece of it. But we are seeing the trend rise with other drug impairment for sure.
It's good to see us investing in the training that's going to allow people to detect that.
Joshua?
Chief, thanks for the report. I had a request for your next quarterly. We've received some new striping at the roundabout, and I'm curious if we could maybe get a report on potential decreases in fender benders around that.
Yes, we are tracking those. It's still a little early to get a good grasp of it, but we will provide that those numbers at the next quarterly report for sure.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. Mr. Miller, anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Mayor. A few items tonight. 6G is an acceptance of a donation to the fire department from the McCoy family. Skylar McCoy was a former firefighter for us, and his family donated over $3,200 that's going to be designated toward fitness equipment for the fire department. Item 6M is an amended and restated joint powers agreement with ISD 194 Lakeville Schools. You reviewed this at your work session last week. This is in relation to revised use policies for facilities and parks between the two entities. And then item 6O is a resolution of support for the 2026 through 2030 Dakota County Capital Improvement Program. And we appreciate their support and partnership in projects that are occurring in Lakeville.
Okay, very good, thank you. Council, any items you'd like to have further discussion? If not, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Okay, is there a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the consent agenda passes. We'll move on to item 7A, public hearing imposing a service charge for special district number 1 for taxes payable in 2026. And I'll turn it over to our finance director to give us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The district, Special Service District, was created in 1998, and it has to follow Minnesota Statute 428A. One of the requirements of that statute is holding a public hearing every year to impose a special service charge, whether there's a charge or not. The Special Service District Advisory Board is recommending a zero special service charge for taxes payable 2026. And the budget that they have provided or put forth for 2020, their 2026, 2027 year is an Exhibit B. And with that, I'll just open it up for public hearing or any questions council may have of the board.
This is a public hearing, so if you have any comments related to this, it's now open. Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. Okay, is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. And with that, I'll take a motion to approve budget and charge. Yep, Councilmember Bermel.
I move to approve the resolution imposing a service charge for Special Service District Number 1 for taxables payable in 2026.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? The only thing I'll note, I had a conversation at one point with the DLBA, and they are think they're getting to the point where they're almost drawn down, and they're gonna have conversations about what the future of this charge is, so. With that, I'll take a motion, or a roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Lee. Volk.
Aye.
Hellier.
Aye. Okay, motion prevails. Items 8 and 9, unfinished and new business. Seeing none. Announcements are next. City Council meeting is Monday, November 17th, and our next work session is November 24th. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.